Okay, so right behind me, we just had the flag raising for Pride. It was beautiful, it was wonderful. We were late because of driving through Brantford. There was a bunch of construction and I'm an idiot with driving. And what happened instead is we found this group protesting killing in Sudan. So I'm trying to get more of a read about what this is about, but basically in Sudan right now there is a military rule and people have been protesting by doing sit-ins and peaceful protests. Yesterday the protesting escalated to a bunch of rioting in the streets and the military just came in and apparently killed a lot of people. I mean, it is a military rule that was being protested, so the military took care of it in their own way, which is death. So now we've got a group right here in Nathan Phillips Square who are protesting against the killing of the protesters yesterday and all of the murder and probably some torture and questioning that's happening. So there's a lot of chanting, there's a lot of passionate people, and as the event continues and groups sort of break off, I'm going to see if I can talk to anyone a little bit more and have them share with you a little bit more of what's happening in Sudan. The person I've spoken to so far has mainly been talking about killing of protesters. So we're going to find out. From what I gather, there is military rule in Sudan. There have been protests. The sit-ins have been dispersed. Tell me more about what's happening.
Okay, just to give you a quick background about what was happening. Actually, this revolution, I can describe it as the longest revolution in the modern history. So the last step was the sit-in, and the sit-in was a peaceful sit-in in front of the military headquarters in the capital. Yeah. And this revolution has never raised, it was 100% peaceful.
Yeah.
So the demand was to ousted the president Omar al-Bashir and to be ruled by civilian government. What actually happened, the people who were elected to negotiate on behalf of the protesters and sit-in, they went to negotiation, but unfortunately they were tricked. It was overtaken by the military council. The brutal attack, 5 o'clock in the morning. And the kids, the students were sleeping actually, and they're fasting, by the way, because yesterday was Ramadan. So they were attacked brutally by militias. It's not by the Sudanese military forces. Sudanese military forces, unfortunately, they kept silent, watching militias beating and shooting to death.
So so for people who don't understand the players, so first of all, who is the militia? Who are these people?
The militia, actually, it's a long story because they're called Janjaweed militias. They were recruited by the previous regime to execute attacks in West Sudan, in Darfur. Because they want to play, they want to use the tribal kind of disagreements, and that militias, they belong to a specific tribe. So, like all systems and regime, how do they play on divide to conquer? That's exactly what they did.
When do we need justice? When do we need it? Right now. When do we need it? Right now.
I'm lucky, just like I think I'm a lucky member of my family to be here in Canada. Yeah. My whole family is back in Sudan, mainly in Khartoum, so the capital city where everything is happening now. Wow. And also most of my friends, so to see them just like they're suffering and also kind of oppressed by what's happening from the government in Sudan, the military government actually, and to take their lives, We saw the Monday, just like the military government, they took almost like 35 plus lives, innocent life. They were just fasting and praying,
Yeah.
in a just like mass site in protesting, and then suddenly just like you break in, you kill the people without even just like, asking them anything. So I have my family member there, but I feel kind of a little, I don't want to just like to say I'm lucky here, but I miss just like, I need to be there with them even, So it's sometimes just like, you get yourself here, get comfortable. I'm in front of the city hall here today, but people were there just like they don't have anything to even just like to face this government,
Freedom for Sudan! Freedom, freedom for Sudan! Freedom, freedom for Sudan! Freedom, freedom for Sudan!
Who are we?
Sudanese!
What we want?
Justice!
When do we want it?
Right now!
Surrender, no surrender, TNT!
been so much up and down over the last few months where there's been hope and then tragic news in the last few days. Amnesty International will continue to call, along with you, for peace and freedom and justice for people in Sudan. And there are over 60,000 members of Amnesty International Canada who I can assure you stand in solidarity with all of you.
What is the ideal situation for the Sudanese people right now? What is the ideal way for this to go?
I think, after a long revolution that extended from December until June, it's over 6 months.
Yeah.
Consistently with a very high determination, and Sudanese youth paid a very high price, their lives.
Yeah.
Sudanese mothers paid their kids' lives, and people were killed, bloodsheds were everywhere, and it was still peaceful protest. I think Sudanese people deserve to be ruled by themselves.
Yeah.
A civilian government, selected and elected by them. This is the only demand that they want. They want to rule their country by themselves, civilian government.
Because when you become democratic, you enjoy the right. Military, they should be in their, just like the rule of military is protection and peace, always. But they can't control the government. The government should be for well-educated people who they can just rule the government with the very right way. That is the idea.
That makes total sense to me. I mean, you guys are demanding democracy and basic rights.
No surrender, TMC is no
TMC to ICC!
وتسقط بس كده بالواضح ما بدس تسقط بس
So this is, we demand urgent international protection from the generals of genocide. Okay, so
This is the guy, Hemeti, the militia guy. Okay. This guy is recruited right now by Saudi Arabia to send kids to the war in Yemen. So basically, this guy is a warlord, sending kids to to Yemen to kill civilians.
Torture in Sudan! Stop torture in Sudan! Stop genocide in Sudan! حرية سلام وعدالة مدنية قرار الشعب
دم الشهيد ما راح لابسين انه نحن وشعب دم الشهيد ما راح لابسين انه نحن وشعب دم الشهيد ما راح لابسين انه نحن وشعب دم الشهيد ما راح
So while we catch up with them, I guess what I want to ask is, what can the international community do to help Sudan's struggle for civil rights and basic rights and democracy?
Yeah, I think the first step was just like we did it today. We came to our Canadian City Hall, where just like most of our members, parliament members, are here, and we are marching to the parliament also. So I think the first thing, the Sudanese community internationally, they need to go there. They need to enjoy their rights as Sudanese Canadian or Sudanese American, whatever, in Europe, to raise their voice, to be just like here there. Secondly, all the kind of international community, they need to condemn what's happening in these countries, and also they need to take action. First of all, cut all the supply to this kind of economic supply, to this kind of governments, military government.
We want the world to know that we need a quick action, very quick action, and we need to see a true action from the Canadian government, because they signed in peace. It's under the Security Council that all nations, all people have the right to be protected. If the governments fails to protect their people, then the international community has to intervene.
Canada, virus silent? Canada, Canada, action now! Action, action for Sudan!
When I just like moved to Canada here, you know, it wasn't my choice. But again, the Canada government and the people in my community, they make me just like feel like welcome. So now I'm very proud to say I'm a Canadian. I feel loved in Canada here. I celebrate many events. I cheer Raptors every day, okay? So these are the things, you know, we need at least to have it there back home, you know? So that is important, yeah.
Take care. Yeah, we gotta have their back. You know, we have Sudanese Canadians, so the Sudanese are our people as well.
Yeah.
Bashir, I'm gonna let you get back into the march here.
Thank you very much for also just like being with us here today. What I say just like, you know, God created us, all of us, just like with the same, you know, July spirit. We need to be always just like share the love spirit among us. We need to feel always just like welcome, and we need to tell the people that, hey, you know, this is our country, you know, we need to make Canada and even our home back great without just like anything, but with love and peace. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Make Canada great with love and peace.
Thank you, sir.
Bashir, thank you so much. Wow, I mean, we're pretty floored. We were not expecting to run into this protest. We were just here for the flag raising. But I'm also really grateful that Canadian Love was able to be here. I mean, there is a humanitarian crisis right now happening in Sudan, and the Canadian Sudanese community and Sudanese communities all over the world in different countries are asking for the international community and for our government here in Canada to stand up to that piece of paper it signed saying that it would help, you know, countries protect the people of countries that were being oppressed and killed by their own governments. You know, the people of Sudan, they want basic civil rights and democracy. I mean, number one, that really makes you appreciate, as Bashir was saying, what we have in Canada that we take for granted. We have a democracy. We don't get shot when we do walkouts and sit-ins and stuff. Like, we have so much to be grateful for in Canada. And I think it's pretty reasonable that Canada takes a little bit of this clout that we have internationally to try to help Sudanese people who are part of who we are now and are being oppressed and repressed. And the other thing is that when a country is going through that breeds violence and anger and sadness and hurt and refugees and things that we then have to pick up the pieces for later anyway. So it is in Canada and the international's best interests to take care of Sudan and help their people achieve basic human rights and democracy. So I'm really glad that we could be a little part of their story. And, you know, I'm hoping that as many people as possible share awareness on this and try to get some international interest on things that are happening right now. Let's show them some Canadian love, you know? They need it.